This is the Savvy Investor radio show and podcast with Mike Kinnett and Ryan Herbert of ProStatus Financial, now celebrating 20 years helping families build successful retirements and lasting family legacies. Mike is a financial planner and estate planning attorney with a master's degree in tax and 4-time Amazon best-selling author. Ryan is a 5-star Wealth Management Award winner and top-ranked financial advisor by Forbes. Now, the Savvy Investor radio show and podcast.
Most Americans are not happy with their income taxes that they're going to have to pay this year. Shocker, right? Well, we're going to talk about that and ways that you can lower your tax bill, especially in retirement. And have you heard of inflation? You've probably heard of stagflation and even shrinkflation. There's a lot of terms that they're throwing at us. But have you heard of fun-flation? What does that mean? Especially as you're going into retirement or maybe already in retirement. And of course, we're going to talk about taxes, because Mike Kinnett, Ryan Herbert are here for you each and every week to help you grow, keep, and distribute your wealth in the most tax-efficient manner possible. My name is Mike, here with you as well, ready to learn and have some fun. Ryan Herbert in the retirement hot seat today. Ryan, how are you? Great to see you.
I'm doing wonderful. It's good to have a regular week going, because we... Mike and myself and ProStatus, we celebrated 20 years of being in business last week. So, we had a pretty big event. We did a live recording of the show. We had, 60, 70 people show up for the live recording. And then, we had a pretty huge anniversary party that we had, well over 100 people show up of our clients, over the years. And some of them, Mike even had some of his original clients from 20 years ago. So it was really a good time, but now it's nice to be back in the swing of things versus having the office just kind of clustered from the overall party.
20 years is a long time. Did you ever think that you would be here today when you start helping people? It's got to be a very rewarding feeling. And it's not about you guys. It's not about us. It's about the people. It's about your clients who with 20 years, they kind of become family.
Yeah, it's one of those things where nowadays, how it used to be, most of our clients right now, they pretty much got one job right out of college and they stayed with that company for, their entire lifetime. They work for one company their entire lifetime. Some of them are fortunate enough to have a pension, but, nowadays it's pretty unheard of. Most people switch jobs. I think it's like between 4 and 6 times over their lifetime. And, myself, I've been here, as I said, the firm itself has been here for 20 years. Mike started it over 20 years ago, back in 2003. I joined him at the beginning of 2007. So, going on 17 years for myself here. But, I never really put much thought into, how long these relationships really last. And it's one of those things where I'm often seeing radio listeners, people come to our seminars, and my clients, in their late 50s when they're gearing up for retirement, and really seeing them up to that retirement point, seeing them through enjoying retirement, doing all the things that they wanted to do, up to the point where they start to slow down, as they get older, and then eventually, unfortunately, health starts to fail. And, the cycle of the business is that I do, unfortunately see clients pass away, but it's, knowing them for a number of years. And like you said, really having that relationship. And that's really why Mike and I do it, is to have that personal relationship. It's not really just that transactional financial aspect of it, but it's more getting to know the clients, getting to know the family, really kind of finding out everything that's going on. And when clients come in, I have clients, Jerry and Marilyn. They're one of my first...
I thought you were going to say your favorites, but I was going to warn you to be careful with that.
Yeah, favorites, they're all my favorites. Whoever's with me at that moment, they are my favorites. But Jerry and Marilyn are one of my very first sets of clients from when I came over here all those years ago. And it's anytime anyone ever asks me, can I talk to some of your existing clients? Let me ask some questions. I always give them Jerry and Marilyn because they're just such raving fans of mine. And, every time he comes in, he just says, Ryan, I'm so happy that Marilyn and I made the decision to plan our retirement with you and Mike and the team, because ever since we took those steps all those years ago, we've never had to worry about what's going on in the stock market, because we know that, we have the income that we need. The stock market goes up, the stock market goes down, but each and every month we have exactly what we want. We're able to do the things we want to do. They just celebrated their 40th wedding anniversary, and they just took the entire family on a trip. And that was something that Jerry and myself and Marilyn had been planning for, the past 5 years. And he came back and said, I'm so thankful for, everything that you and Mike have done for us over the years. And if that's the type of relationship that you're looking for with a financial advisor that Mike and I and our team here at ProStatus have with our clients, give us a call, 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040. Sit down with Mike, myself, and our team here, and we will help put you on that path to retirement so you too can retire with confidence, just like my clients, Jerry and Marilyn, and you get to come in and say, we're so happy with everything that we've done over the years. 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040.
I'm very glad to hear that. It always puts a smile on my face as well. Also at thesavvyinvestorradio.com. Again, that's thesavvyinvestorradio.com. We talk about relationships. We talk about legacy planning. We talk about multi-generational retirement planning. And all of that is with Mike and Ryan and the team at ProStatus Financial. You mentioned planning. And that's a big part of it. I mean, we always hear what's on people's mind, taxes, making their money last as long as they do, having the income. And also, what do I do with my 401k and the market? It's up, it's down, it's driving me crazy. I don't know what to do. I'm getting close to retirement. I don't want to lose any more money, which I found this interesting. There was a new study by Charles Schwab research that looked at market timing. And it reviewed the S&P 500 over 20 years. Each investor that they gave him $2,000, the perfect market timing investor invested at every low point, every low trading point. But here's the kicker. At the end of the study, the investor that used dollar cost averaging, and I want you to explain that to us here in just a minute, but dollar cost averaging and put money in the first day of each month was only $10,000 behind the perfect market timer. I mean, this stuff is complicated enough. Now, this kind of worries me because do we just invest when we get paid and use the dollar cost averaging, or should we try to capture those low points?
Well, that study, what Schwab did is they said that everyone starts with $2,000. Mm-hmm. One person starts, they sell at every high point, they buy at every low point because that's the goal, buy low, sell high. They did one where someone was buying high and selling low. They said someone invests the same dollar amount in the first of the month, the same dollar amount the beginning of the year. All kinds of different scenarios. And like you said, the person who had perfect market timing, meaning the person who figured out that every low point in the market was the perfect time to buy and every high point in the market was a perfect time to sell, only ended up $10,000 ahead of the other investor that was buying that same dollar amount on the first of the month. And like you said, that's called dollar cost averaging. And that's what, people do pretty much their entire lives is actually dollar cost averaging, because dollar cost averaging is putting the same dollar amount in a consistent period of time, the same time, so once a month or twice a month, however you get paid, putting that money in so that as you're putting money into your investments, if you're buying, Apple stock, you're buying Apple stock, as it's going up, so you're buying less and less shares as it goes up because you're using that same dollar amount. You're putting $50 a week in or $50 a month in. And then conversely, as Apple stock is falling, you're still putting that same $50 a month in, but instead of, the flip side to it, as the stock is rising, I'm getting less shares as it goes up, but it is growing. But then when it comes down, I'm buying the same dollar amount, but I'm getting more shares so that when it starts to turn around and makes that upward swing again, that's when my investment's going to grow more. So, dollar cost averaging is something that nobody ever really thinks about when you're doing investing on your own. If you have a brokerage account, you have $50,000, $100,000, $200,000, or however much you have in just a regular brokerage account, everyone always thinks about the market timing aspect of it because that's what people really, the emotional reaction to it. And they ignore the fact that the strategy that they've been using all these years inside of their 401k is completely separate from what they're doing in that brokerage account, because they're letting that brokerage account dictate emotions. The emotions are dictating that account. They're saying, here's when you should buy, here's when you should sell, versus just having that plan in place and sticking to that plan. And that's the one thing that Mike and myself and our team here that we always talk about is having that plan. if you're going to retire on X date, have that written down. If you want to know where your income's going to come from for the first 5 years of retirement, have that number written down. Have the next 5 years, the next 10 years. Have a retirement plan in place that is detailed and it says step by step, here are all the things that are going to happen in retirement. Here's how I'm going to make those things happen. And most importantly, stick to that plan. Don't try to be that market timer. Don't let emotions kind of get in your way of having that successful retirement. And if you're sitting there thinking, the stock market as of lately has had its up days and it's had its down days, I really want to have a plan in place that takes the stress out of worrying about the market, that takes the emotion out of worrying about the market, and having a plan of knowing that if I follow these steps, I'm going to have that successful retirement that I've always dreamed about. And I encourage you to give us a call at 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040. If you're feeling anxious about the stock market, if you're feeling nervous about your retirement, give us a call. Come in and sit down with Mike, myself, and our team here at ProStatus and let us put together your very own comprehensive plan that talks about investments, that talks about the risks you're taking, talks about fees, talks about the income you're going to have in retirement, long-term care, taxes, estate planning, all those aspects of a financial plan that you need to have all in one place. 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040.
You guys wrap that up in a bow and call it the 401k X-ray. So if you call in, make sure to ask about the 401k X-ray to sit down with Mike and Ryan and get started on your plan to make sure that your money is not to the whims of the market. Perhaps you like to time it yourself. I would invite you to talk to them to see if that is going to be what's best for you, according to this latest study. Makes you think. If a lot of you are like I am, and a lot of people that I've spoken with, we just don't have the time for that. So 866-597-1040. Get started today with the 401k X-ray. You can also go online at thesavvyinvestorradio.com. Again, that's the savvyinvestorradio.com front page there. They've made it very easy for you to connect and talk with Mike and Ryan and the team at ProStatus. Just click on the 401k X-ray button at the savvyinvestorradio.com and get started on your plan for retirement today. So there's a lot of terms out there that people are throwing out lately, especially when you're in retirement for 40 or 50 years, maybe. There's going to be a lot of terms that you're going to encounter. So you've heard of inflation, you've heard of stagflation, even shrinkflation. Now we are experiencing fun-flation. This is in a recent boom in economic spending on entertainment and experiences, with high demand causing prices to skyrocket. So, for example, Ryan, you know this, Taylor Swift, those tickets to her concerts are through the roof. It's an experience for the kids and the parents and the grandparents in some cases, so they'll pay whatever it is. So much so that Best Buy CEO Corey Berry blames Fun-flation for their slipping sales as consumers are spending money on experiences, not so much big TVs. As I said earlier, in retirement, we're going to encounter a lot of things. Fun-flation, I want to go, I want to experience things, not so much maybe the big house, so on and so forth. How do we keep up with that? Because if we're having more fun, if we're experiencing more things, we're spending more money, things are costing more nowadays. How do we figure all that out in retirement?
It's really all about having a plan. And, Taylor Swift, you and I were talking on the air about Taylor Swift, but, that's Taylor Swift.
You really are a Taylor Swift fan.
I am absolutely not a Taylor Swift fan. But, my daughters like it. I try not to listen. But, in my mind, they asked to go to the concert and I looked at tickets and I was just like, you know what, it's just too much money for something like that. And, that's what people are spending their money on because, we had... I think what it is we had COVID where everyone, sat around. They bought what they wanted during COVID. And now it's just like, I had that year of my life where I did nothing and I want to enjoy life. And that's really the approach that most people have with retirement is that, I've worked my entire life doing something I may or may not have really enjoyed it. It kind of handcuffed me to my 2 weeks a year or 3 weeks a year, whatever it is. I want to have that fun in retirement. I want to live the lifestyle that I want in retirement. I want to do those bucket list things in retirement. And it all comes down to having a plan and, having money set aside for inflation. That's something that everybody needs to do. You want to make sure that you have inflation of some type built into your overall financial plan. But most importantly, you want to have a plan in place. Going into retirement, saying that I'm just going to retire on Tuesday and I'm not going to change up anything and I'm just going to start taking money out of my account on Wednesday so I have the income that I need. That's not really the way to approach retirement. You want to make sure that you identify your sources of income in retirement. You want to make sure that they are as guaranteed as they possibly can be in retirement. And you want to make sure that you stick to that plan as you go through retirement, because the stock market goes up, the stock market goes down, life happens around you. You want to make sure that you have a plan for the unexpected, but that all really starts by writing that plan down and giving us a call at 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040, and sitting down with Mike, myself, and a member of our team here at ProStatus, where we'll put together your very own comprehensive retirement plan that talks about income in retirement, that accounts for inflation, that talks about taxes, that talks about estate planning, long-term care, all those aspects of a financial plan, all in one place, and absolutely complimentary to you. 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040.
It's critical that you know what you have in retirement and that you know you're going to have a steady, dependable, reliable income in retirement. Again, call now, 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040. It's complimentary, no obligation for you savvy investors, 866-597-1040, and online at thesavvyinvestorradio.com. You can go online and click on the Income Analyzer button, and that will get you started with Mike, with Ryan, and start the conversation about your income in retirement, which is very, very important. Ryan, you talk about planning, and most people, I would imagine, they come in and they say, hey, here's my plan. I'm just going to pick at my savings and hopefully that will last me. Is that the normal? Because I think that's where a lot of us are sitting, because we don't know. We don't have a plan.
I think that it's very unusual for someone to come in and have some type of idea of here's how much my income is going to be in year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And
so we're not alone when we don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the only people that I ever see come into my office that have that type of thing, quite honestly, are engineers. Engineers, most engineers love their spreadsheets, and, having offices, in the Washington, D.C. area. I got a lot of government contractors around. I'm down the street from a pretty big government contractor here in my Hanover office. So I do see a lot of those guys, and, I love seeing these spreadsheets because I do love numbers. They have drawdown rates and inflation rates and tax rates and all these variables in these massive, massive spreadsheets.
God bless you.
For most people, the experience that they've had with financial advisors or with retirement planning, or, if you yourself are working with a financial advisor and you've had this experience, what you see is, you're doing these retirement projections that are essentially, they're called Monte Carlo projections. And essentially all it is it is a computer program rolling the dice, just like you would if you went to Monte Carlo to gamble, and saying, here's what the stock market did year 1, 2, 3, 4, so on and so forth. And, based on these numbers, here's the statistical percentage of your success in retirement. And it tells you, 50% chance, 75, 80, 90. Nobody ever shows you 100 because that basically means guarantee. So the highest you can ever get on those is 99. And, most of my radio listeners, when they come in for those complimentary consultations, because they gave us a call at 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040. If they're working with an advisor, one of the things I ask you to do is bring in the retirement plan, bring in the written income plan. And what they end up bringing me is one of those reports. And I say, okay, this tells me, here's about what you can spend in retirement, but how are you going to spend that money? What does that actually look like? What do the taxes look like? What has your advisor talked about with you for the income stream? What have they talked about for taxes? Have they said, here's the accounts we're going to access first, then we're going to do this. Here's how we're going to structure those things. And 99.9% of the time, it's just, the conversation with my advisor has always been, I have X amount of money in the accounts with you. I have X amount of money in my 401k. Oh, okay, let me plug the numbers in. And, oh, yeah, you'll be fine for retirement. You'll be able to retire at 65. But there's never any guidance on here's exactly what's going to happen in retirement. Here's exactly how you make it happen. And that's what Mike and I specialize in doing. That's what we love to show our clients is here's exactly how things are going to happen in retirement. Here's how we're accounting for taxes. Here's how we're talking about inflation. Here's what we're going to do with your estate plan. But, all that starts by giving us a call at 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040. If you're feeling like I'm not really sure what retirement's going to look like for me, I don't know if I have enough money saved for retirement, and I'm definitely not sure that I'm not going to outlive my money. I want to make sure that I don't run out of money in retirement. If those are the questions that you're asking yourself, I encourage you to give us a call at 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040. Sit down with Mike, myself, and a member of our team here at ProStatus, and we'll walk through your very own comprehensive retirement plan. 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040.
Is there an account in there when you look at inflation, stagflation, shrinkflation, funflation, as we're talking about now? Of course, you guys take an account for that. Is there a take account for Taylor Swift tickets? I mean, do you guys work that in the plan as well for the parents and grandparents to buy it for the kids?
The number one thing we try to do is always secure the income, and then everything else is extra. What is extra to you is different to me, is different to Mike, is different to your next door neighbor. What everybody plans for in retirement is absolutely different. I talked about Jerry and Marilyn, but they were some of my first clients, from when I started with ProStatus way back then. We've been around for 20 years. We just celebrated our 20-year anniversary as a company last week. But, one of the things that they talked about leading up to their wedding, their 40th wedding anniversary, was we want to take all of our kids. They have 4 kids. We want to take all 4 kids, their wives, their kids, everybody. We want to take everybody on this Disney cruise. I got a quote. We talked to our travel agent. Here's how much it's going to cost. What do we need to do next to make this happen? And we set that money aside of saying, all right, this is the money we're dedicating for Disney. We can assume that Disney, the price of the tickets are going to go up X amount per year. So we need to make sure we have this money set aside so that, no matter what happens, we have the income that we want. But we definitely want to take this trip. We don't want to take any chances. Whether it's a Disney cruise, whether it's an RV,
Sure.
whether it's a boat, or, whether it's Taylor Swift tickets begrudgingly, I'd much rather just buy the movie tickets and send my kids to that. But, you want to make sure you have a plan. You want to make sure you have a plan going into retirement. If you think about how much time you will spend planning a vacation, you want to make sure you spend as much time, if not more, planning your retirement. Because retirement is not just I retire on Tuesday and then Wednesday I'm sitting home on the couch. Retirement has a lot more that goes on to it. And you are going to be retired another 20, 30, sometimes even 40 years in retirement. You want to make sure you have that plan that accounts for taxes, that plan that accounts for inflation, that plan that makes sure that you do not outlive your money. But that all starts by calling us at 866-597-1040, 866-597-1040.
It's hard to wrap your mind around that much time in retirement and the planning that goes into that. The good news is we don't have to worry about it. We just talk to Mike and Ryan, and they will help you put a plan in place. 866-597-1040. Do you have the income that you need for retirement? 866-597-1040. What about your 401k? What about tax planning? All of that they can answer for you and help you along the way. 866-597-1040 will give you savvy investors a couple of minutes to call in and set that time up with Mike and Ryan to get started on your plan. Also, if you want to go right now, you can go to thesavvyinvestorradio.com. Again, that's thesavvyinvestorradio.com. Click on the income analysis button, and that will get you right there with Mike and Ryan. That way you guys can start planning with them for your retirement. Again, that's thesavvyinvestorradio.com. Click on the income analyzer button, and that'll get you started. Thanks again for being here with us. We also want to remind you before we wrap things up today about the podcast, the Savvy Investor Podcast, and the Savvy Investor is now on YouTube as well. So you can catch us wherever you go on demand with the podcast, and as well on your laptop, on your computer, and see the conversation for yourself on YouTube. So again, that's the Savvy Investor Podcast and Savvy Investor on YouTube as well. Ryan, got to wrap things up, but before we do, as always, got to take care of some very special birthdays from ProStatus, and then you wrap things up.
Yeah, absolutely. Just wanted to say happy birthday to any of our radio listeners out there that are podcast watchers or listeners that are listening to the show. If you have a birthday this week, happy birthday to you. But, want to wish happy birthday to some of our clients. Want to wish a happy birthday to Joe. A happy birthday to a brand new client, Michael, down there in our Florida office. Happy birthday to Maria and Andy. Happy birthday. If you or a loved one is having a birthday this week, I hope you have a wonderful and healthy birthday. This is Ryan Herbert. Thank you so much for listening to the Savvy Investor Radio and Podcast. We'll see you, the Savvy Investor, next week.
Advisory services offered through ProStatus Financial Advisors Group, a registered investment advisor. Insurance licensed in Maryland. ProStatus Financial Advisors Group, LLC is not licensed in all 50 states. To find out if ProStatus Financial Advisors Group is licensed in your state, please call 410-863-1040. ProStatus Group, LLC is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims-paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through representatives of ProStatus Financial Advisors Group.